That man is a speed demon. And we told him, you don't have to go fast to have a conversation. But he said no. In fact, he said a conversation could always use a little giddy up.
Welcome to Hot Laps, the fastest talk show in the world. Rhinestone cowboy. That's what the doctor called me last night after he pulled this meteorite out of my urethra. I actually had a kidney stone. It took me like 10 hours to pass. I got a really tight hole. Anyways, I'm getting carried away. Look, 3 years ago I had this idea. What if I turn a talk show desk into a car?
Welcome to Hot Laps. This is the fastest talk show in America. I'm covered in liberal baby pee and I'm gonna find me one.
I built the first version and it was okay. But then I built this new version. Here's the problem. Speed is not my profession. It's just something I do on the weekends. So I thought I need to talk to someone who does speed all the time. I'm talking a really speedy guy. So my brain's going and it's going, and then it hit me. A Formula One driver. That'd be the best person to talk to because they know speed. They've done a lot of racing lines, you know what I mean? So I got in this thing, I drove it all the way to Nashville, and I sat down to cut it up with the speediest guy I know. I'm talking about the one and only Daniel Ricciardo.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Oh man, you were taller than I was hoping.
Maybe it's the boots.
Oh, nice. You ready to go?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
All right, what is this? This is some high-tech stuff.
Yeah, this makes you feel safe, doesn't it? We got DRS too.
Oh yeah, we got overtake button.
Yeah, you can smash that whenever you feel safe.
All right.
All right. Leave us alone.
Nah, I sometimes want to say that.
I can do it, I'm the comedian.
Is this all gonna stay? That's like hot coffee.
So the thing's got some giddy up.
It does.
Yeah, it'll take your hat.
Yeah, definitely.
You're like the first person I've done this with.
Okay.
So I'm aiming big.
Are you able to concentrate? We can drive slow.
So I was on tour in Perth.
Oh, wicked.
Why is everyone in Australia so anti-Perth? Do you know this?
They give it a hard time because it's like in the middle of nowhere, relatively speaking. Like
Yeah.
It's on the other side. I feel Adelaide gets more of a hard time.
So that was what's crazy was I was in Adelaide and I mentioned that I was in Perth and they were like booing.
Because Adelaide's probably a little insecure that it's like the least cool city.
Okay, all right, fair.
So Perth's like an easy target.
So in Formula One, you have to go between sets of soft, medium, and hard tires.
Yeah.
As you've gotten older, do you find it difficult going from soft to hard when changing a rubber?
Stop. But the answer is yes.
I was going back and watching a lot of old videos of you, whether you're like answering fan questions or whatever. You've opened up over time and you've become really comfortable with like shooting jokes on camera and, you know, post interviews and stuff like that. Were you like that as a kid, or did that kind of come out as you developed in your career?
Can I swear or not?
Yeah, of course.
You can beep it out of it.
Yeah.
I was always like a little bit of a shithead.
Okay.
So I was like cheeky and just immature like as a kid for sure. So I always had that little bit of like mischief and whatever. But I think, the more interviews you do as well, the more you just feel comfortable doing it, the more then you feel like you can be yourself. I want like a little bit of my personality to come out in that. I don't want to be too robotic and straight, down the line. But yeah, it comes with a little bit of time and confidence and therefore comfort.
I have to ask this because I'm a bit of a shithead too sometimes. Have you had a lot of moments where you're trying to be a shithead, but you're trying to let that person know, hey, you're in on it too? Like it's not targeted at you, but it just doesn't come across, and then they walk away thinking, man, what the hell was that guy's problem?
Yeah, sometimes I take it like too far where I'll be a shithead when like maybe like someone comes up to me and they're like, hey, like you're Daniel Ricciardo, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, like that guy's an asshole. Like, why would you say that? And they're like, oh, okay. And they like start walking off and I'm like, no, like, sorry, I'm joking, it is me. And then they're like, oh, okay. And they're kind of like, yeah, that wasn't really funny.
Right.
Oh, okay. that one didn't land. So. Whoa. I'll take that off.
Yeah, let it flow.
Holy shit.
Anytime I see drivers get interviewed and the person interviewing them isn't really familiar with motorsport, they always ask them, have you ever pissed yourself?
Yep,
Have you
I
ever
got asked that last night.
Yeah, have you ever taken a dump? Is there
In the car?
Yeah.
Oh, no. I mean, not like, no. Definitely not. I'm trying to think of the scenario where you would.
Because I have some friends that are GT3 drivers and they've had some code browns on like endurance races.
I feel like, yeah, obviously if you push a little hard and then something bad happens, that could happen to the best of us.
Yeah.
But I definitely wouldn't intentionally try and get rid of it.
Yeah.
There's like a little bit of excitement dribble every now and then, but like we're talking a couple drops. It doesn't classify as a pee. I couldn't do it.
Was there ever a time looking back you kind of wish you left a dookie in that seat?
Nah. I like my mechanics too much. It's very personal because they're also the ones doing our like crutch straps.
Fair.
So they could yank really hard if they wanted to. They're in control of our destiny, so to speak.
So if you did that, they could make it really miserable for you.
I mean, if you want kids one day, that could be gone in a second.
In your life, you've experienced a lot of adrenaline, right? Would you say there's been anything like outside of racing where it's not the same thrill, but you've experienced the same amount of adrenaline?
I think that's what makes first dates so fun. You get that spike of adrenaline and the nerves, and yeah, so it's obviously very different to like driving a race car, but yeah, you get things through your life which give you a similar kick. I did skydiving once, which was wild. I love bikes.
Yeah.
Like, so on my farm in Australia, I built like a ton of jumps and stuff for our like little dirt bikes, and if I do a jump that is big, at least for my standards, and I like conquer it, the build up to that, like that rush and that fear is kind of like the start of a race sometimes. Like it's really cool. So I like that. I feel like it's part of living. Maybe it's just part of like the way I grew up, but I think you need to like spook yourself every now and then.
Do you experience a lot of existential crisis?
Give me an example, because that's a really big word.
Do you lay awake at night and think like, oh man, I'm at where I'm at and I race cars for a living and this is crazy, like who am I, this small person in this big world?
Okay. Is that like, maybe I'm completely getting this wrong, is that kind of like imposter syndrome?
It could be that, yeah.
No, like I don't get it in like a negative way. I definitely still get moments of like, even now, like sitting here on Broadway and the whole street is closed pretty much for an event that I'm doing today. Like that's wild. So I definitely don't feel like a fraud or anything. Yeah, I feel like I've built up over the years to like get to this place, but it also still feels crazy because I still feel like the kid from Perth. I would say like I trip balls a lot, just where this world takes me, and even like people I meet, I'm just like, how is this person like in my house right now, or like having dinner with me, or like, so yeah, I get that, but that's a good feeling because it kind of makes you appreciate like the ride that you're on. I don't know if I answered that correctly, but
no man, I think that was great. I think a lot of people feel pressure or imposter syndrome in a lot of different things, so I think it's encouraging that even a person as like successful as yourself, you can still experience that. So I think that's pretty motivating.
Yeah, you got to. I think it also comes down to like appreciation. Like probably in the case of maybe even like quick success, like it can happen so fast that you don't really stop and like smell the roses or you know that sort of stuff. 100%. Where it's important to. And I think that's why it's important to get some time to yourself. At moments through the year where you can like reflect and also appreciate and be like, oh wow, this is really cool. Like I've missed this. So otherwise you can just go and each day just turns into a year and then it passes. So you're like, oh, it's gone.
I've never thought about it like that. I like that a lot. Do you think there's any stigma about being a driver that gets pinned on you that you really don't like?
As I said, maybe growing up it was like, yeah, you know, drivers aren't like sportsmen, or they just kind of get behind the wheel and drive fast. Like, yeah, cool, whoop-de-doo. I think it's, you know, definitely more appreciated now. I think the sport, since its rise, you know, and I think Netflix, the show Drive to Survive, let a lot of people in. It's like anything. Once you let someone in, they can understand you better or appreciate, you know, what you're doing. And I'm not going to say, yeah, we're the greatest athletes in the world or we're this or that. Like maybe for a while I felt like we maybe didn't get the respect. So I feel like we got that now. I'm happy about that.
I agree. I think Drive to Survive show people that, you know, when you're losing 10 pounds of water weight and everybody's yelling at you and there's a lot of money on the line, there's pressure.
It's not just rocking up on Sunday either.
Yeah.
We're at the track from sometimes Wednesday all the way through to Sunday. It's
Yeah.
like 12-hour days, media, engineering, like it's data overload.
Sitting in a desk that moves, all this crazy stuff.
So like honestly by Sunday we're already pretty fried and pretty exhausted, and then like you're on the grid and you're still doing interviews and stuff, and you're like, I just want to race now. I just want to be able to try and perform. And then, you know, even like schedule, like we go to Vegas and then the week after we race in Abu Dhabi. It's like crazy time zone differences. So there's a lot about the sport that also gets missed. But again, I think people are starting to see now that, oh yeah, it's more than just getting behind the wheel and trying to drive fast.
I mean, you guys are basically on tour. Like, you're a touring act that's performing a race, you know, every other weekend all over the world. And
look, I also don't want to complain. I'm not like, oh yeah.
No. I don't think it's complaining. I don't think it's complaining at all. But I know what you mean. You're in a great position, and sometimes people conflate the two.
Yeah,
But,
definitely.
He's not complaining, folks. So if you're going to get in the comments and say this guy's complaining, lay off. All right. Everyone marvels at how good looking you are and how handsome you are. Is there anything about you that you're quietly insecure about, even some small?
Well, look,
The answer's no.
The answer's no. No, of course, everyone. Because if I say no, people will call me a liar. Because like, well, everyone has insecurities.
Yeah.
But it's not to a point where I'm like, oh yeah, I need to get surgery or get that fixed.
No, not like that.
Like my nose is like I would say like the Italian kind of. I also don't want to say, because it may be like some Italians like, hey, we don't know why big noses.
Everyone says big noses are in, so I feel like you're good there.
Maybe. But that's the thing. Like I'm like, yeah, like maybe I don't have the coolest profile shot in the world, but I'm also.
Well, I'm really glad that's what we were getting this whole interview.
But it's not to a point where I'm like, yeah, I need to get a nose job.
Yeah.
Like, it's, you know, like I also am very much of the like, we were made obviously all like to look, you know, unique in ourselves, and we have to like embrace that and be comfortable, and like, that's what makes me, and you know, whatever your features are make you you. So I think I'm totally okay with that.
So I cart a lot at home.
Yeah.
And all my buddies think it's like stupid. When I try to tell them it's hard and it's physically taxing, they don't believe me.
Yeah.
So all I need you to do is look into one of these cameras and tell them that I'm not lying.
He ain't lying. If I could swear, I would. It's really hard. This is the struggle I had at school my whole life. I was trying to like get respect by being a go-karter, and everyone was like playing football and all these other sports, and they're like, dude, that's easy. Like I could do that. And I was like, no, you don't get it. Trust me. They are so physical, and I think when you do it from a young age, your body is just accustomed to it, where now jumping in, because I don't drive a kart often, it just beats me.
Before I went on tour, I was driving almost every week.
Yeah.
Went on tour, came back. I have not been able to get the conditioning back. It's been like 3 or 4 months. Like,
wild, huh?
Yeah. And it's
Ribs
fun
as well.
Yeah, and I was thinking of like, because I just drive the 100cc stuff, and I was thinking of going up to shifters, but I don't even think I'm fit for it.
So the 100cc's probably operate at like 60% physicality compared to a shifter.
Yeah.
Shifter is another level.
I've driven with some young guys, you know, these are guys that are like, now they're going to like Super Trofeo and stuff, and they're like, oh no, we'll just take you out a few times, we'll get you up to speed. And I always have to remind them, I'm like, dude, I'm 34. I'm not gonna get up to speed.
You born in 89?
Huh?
You born in 89? What month?
August.
August 16th.
19th.
All right. July 1st, 89.
Damn, you got close though.
I tried. So I never raced shifters.
Yeah.
I just like tested them and whatever, but I always like, it was just not, because I just grew up without it. So when I got into it, just the style, and I suck at shifters.
Oh,
like,
dude,
I'm nowhere.
Mine is just, I can't get it. It's really tough.
Like, just go in and go out, and it just,
you're basically one-handed the whole time. So that part,
the ratios are so short where you just,
During my wedding week, I rented out a kart track in South Italy, and
which one?
This one was pretty small. I did a session with a 5-time champion, karting champion.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, he's Italian. Danilo Rossi, DR Kart.
Yeah, he's legit.
Yeah. Well, it was like I embarrassed myself pretty hard on the first 13 laps, and he called me in, but it was amazing getting to work with him, because he tuned me up in like, you know, 2 sessions after that in the shifter, even though I wasn't like really conditioned for it. So it's pretty incredible, like when you're with a driving coach or someone who knows what they're doing, how much they can set you right. So
it's like any sport now. Like even all my friends, like, you know, they're into golf right now, and but they're like, don't just go and just try to figure it out yourself. Like if you want to do it, you get someone to teach you, and like you'll just, you know, fast track it and do it properly. And it's like any sport, I guess. Like you can, you know, if you want to just have fun and muck around, sure. But if you want to actually learn and get good at your craft, especially at an older age, you need someone to educate you and guide you. And
100%.
just give you some pointers. Because like, little things that maybe to me now seem like, oh, nothing or obvious. I tell someone maybe that, you know, is starting from, you know, entry level.
Yeah.
And it's like gold for them.
I think the toughest thing with karts is mastering like the slow hands. Like you're not the hard motions, it's just little dances.
It's like fingertips.
Yeah.
You see like an onboard of like a professional karter, and it's like the wheel doesn't even turn.
I know, it's
like they're just
yeah,
they're literally
so
like just turning with their hips. It's like, oh yeah, it's going there.
Yeah, and then you're like, can I use my body? And they say no, and you're like, all right, then how do you get it to move, bro?
It's wild.
Well, let's launch this thing, and then we'll pop you out.
How scared should I be?
Nah, it'll cap out at like, so we'll be all right.
Okay.
Yeah. This got giddy up.